We're in downtown Warminster right now. Going to collect another pallet of the good stuff. Yeah, we get about half a ton, 600 kilos of grain a month at the moment, including the Pilsner malt for today's brew. This recipe is actually taken from Euan Ferguson's craft brew book, which is a great book, highly recommended. So it's a 20-litre smoothie IPA with raspberries and vanilla pods, around 6% ABV, and lactose too. And that is how we recirculate the wort. It features 1,300 grams of fruit, so I'm expecting it to be super fruity and sharp, yet smooth, with the water profile and the lactose addition as well. At least that's what I hope. The reason I'm brewing this beer is because it's hopped with Mosaic, which I love, including hefty Whirpool and dry hop additions, with nearly 300 grams in total, which is pretty hefty. Also, I love raspberry in beers like Belgian beers, Gozers. I also love Omnipollo, and this is based on their double raspberry ice cream and smoothie IPA. We've got our sparge water sitting in this 25-litre kettle over there. Quite simply, down, into the pump, up round she comes, and into our cunning lid attachment, down through the basket, into the kettle. Bosh. This part's going to look a little bit cowboy, a little bit pirate, because we don't have a rack for the basket to rest on yet, or hooks, but it is in development. This is, as we've said before, an experimental brew system which we're working on. And as it's sitting out, we can actually see the volume markings, unlike the Grainfather S40, where because the basket sits low, you can't read what the volume's up to, which is quite frustrating. But this is working nicely. So that's 27 grams of the Mosaic in. Mosaic's such a good hop. Yeah, like Citra on steroids, as they say. But I imagine that it's been selected because of its stone fruit qualities. I am making a few deviations from the recipe. Number one is the fruit addition. I'm using raspberry puree rather than fresh raspberries. Two is I'm going to be using 3 vanilla pods rather than 2.5. The reason for that is purely feedback that I've seen on the internet from folks who've brewed this particular recipe. 3 is the yeast. Now I'm using WHC Saturated, which is the London Ale 3 strain, and it's a dried yeast, and that is my go-to at the moment for smooth and tropical beers. That's the boil over. Now reducing the temp for our Whirpool, our half-hour Whirpool, at 75 degrees. We've got this nifty Whirpool attachment here designed by Ed. So I've got the hose that was supplying the lid, or the nozzle in the lid, and I'm just going to fit that to the Whirpool attachment, put that in the kettle. Just helping it get down to Whirpool temp. That's all. It's dropped below 80 degrees. The cool kids have come out to play, and it's time for the Whirpool hops. 67 grams of Mosaic going in the hole. That smells good. Look at that. Lovely Whirpool. I fitted the thermometer in the pipe so it can sanitise. That's been going around for about 10-15 minutes, and we're now ready to start chilling. Now this thing happens very quickly. This thermometer chills like no one's business. So the hoses are all linked up. Simple hose in for the cold water, hose out on the yellow one, so the hot water goes outside, keeps recircling around the thermometer until it's reached pitching temp, which is about 22 degrees. Let's turn that hose on. As you can see, that's dropping like a stone. It caught me out a bit last time. I ended up down around about 11, 12 degrees before I even knew it. Literally had time to scratch my ass, and it was at pitching temp. She ain't catching me out this time. Hot water draining away outside. Sanitised little pigtail fitting. There we go. Let the work flow. Bit pushed for space at the moment, so we've had to chuck her in the chest freezer. That should be fine for now. We've actually got 3 brew fridges full of stuff at the moment, so this is number 4. So yeah, there we go, 19 degrees, and we'll be back in 2 or 3 days after active fermentation to add the raspberries and the vanilla pods.
3 days later. One week later. Three days later.
It's not very. I was expecting it to be a bit pinker, to be honest. Maybe it could be the light. We'll see how it actually pans out. Hefty dry hop. You can see the remnants of that. Little tilt hydrometer. Okay, it's got a pink hue. It has, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Oh wow.
There you go.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Wow.
Looks wise, I mean, what you wanted to compare?
Yeah, I just want a colour comparison with the.
I mean, totally different.
So a beer using puree, so raspberry puree as opposed to actual fruit, frozen fruit, like the colour difference. I know that this is a milkshake, so it's it's obviously going to be cloudy, but
yeah,
that's a startling difference. I mean, it's odd, you can see it's got a nice pinky tinge.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely got some colour to it.
Pretty opaque though, isn't it?
Nice dank aroma with the Mosaic. I've got a fly in mine. Brilliant.
Oh, no.
Should we go in?
Yeah, go on then. Ready?
Cool, creamy.
Yeah, it is. Kind of velvety.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really nice.
It's very vanilla-y. Like,
Yeah, but not so much on the nose.
no.
I'll be honest, I was a little bit worried. I thought it was going to be oxidised based on the colour.
Yeah.
It's kind of browny. I thought it was going to be like cardboardy.
It's not though, is it?
No. It's lovely. It's really fresh and vibrant, and it's good.
You like?
Yeah, I do like.
Do you think the flavours are in balance? The raspberry versus the... You're feeling weird now because there's people wandering around.
Who is?
You are.
I was just drinking it.
Wow. She parties.
Or used to.
This has been in can for a couple of months, I think. Actually, it's mellowed really nicely.
That's why I was thinking it might have been, because we're still getting to grips with the canning process, aren't we?
Yeah,
and I was
some
worried it had
cans
been
do,
oxidised just from the colour.
Do tend to have a little leak.
It's nice. I'm disappointed with the colour. I was hoping for a bit more red than that, which is why I was outraged when I saw Andrew's Cherryade. But
should the carbonation be for a milkshake IPA? Would you still go for the same as you would for a regular IPA, or would you dial it down?
That's a question for you.
Well,
I wasn't the carving department on this. You were.
Oh, I wasn't I? Oh no. Okay, bollocks. I was going to say it's maybe a tiny bit
under.
Over,
yeah.
Oh, that's a lovely velvety. I did adjust.
So a tiny bit.
I adjusted the lactose during fermentation because I wasn't hitting the number I wanted to. I wanted to get it to 1025.
Oh, okay.
And it was sitting about 1016, 1017. So
Yeah.
I bumped it up a bit. I think maybe a touch more puree. Maybe
Yeah.
if I was going to tinker with the recipe a bit.
But
It still
with
seems
some,
get a half
seems
litre
for a
in there.
milkshake IPA. It still seems slightly. It feels slightly drier than maybe it should be. Just
You think?
a hint drier, a tiny bit drier, which isn't a bad thing. It's nice, but for a milkshake, it should be a little bit sweeter. no, it's lovely though.
It's also got a very hefty dry hop, I think, for a milkshake IPA.
Yeah, which could give it that hoppiness kind of. fooling you into thinking it's really dry.
Yeah.
And also maybe bitterer than it is. Like,
Oh, true, yeah. It'd be
Really,
interesting
really
to redo it with the frozen fruit.
I was
though, and
about to
see
say that.
as a straight comparison,
Yeah.
rather than obviously two very different different beers.
Yeah.
It would be interesting, especially as this one's.
Yeah, all right, Andrew, we get it. Yours is a redder colour. All right, we get it. Thanks.
It's just to do with the fruit. But no, it would be really interesting to redo this one because that's really.
I know we're out in public, but I will bust you up. Yeah, you know, you're right. I think if I was going to rebrew, I'd maybe go your route and go with the frozen fruit, bump that up, try and go for a redder colour. Although I think red opaque, red works better when it's clear. I think if it's opaque, it's going to look a bit.
Yeah, it does.
Blood-ish.
That does look a little bit cidery.
I mean, the appearance is the least important
Yeah.
thing, though, isn't it? For me, anyway, personally, the way it looks.
Certainly with your hairstyle.
It looks exactly the same as yours now, isn't it?
Wow. I am very, very happy with it. The vanilla comes across, as you remember with my mango and passion fruit one, there wasn't a lot of vanilla in that, because that was from the extract. There's a lot more using those beans sliced down the middle. You extract a lot more of vanilla-y-ness.
Yeah.
That's even an expression. I also like to do a rebrew, but using frozen raspberries, which is what I would use next time. I think frozen's the way to go, based on recent research. But otherwise, yeah, I'm really happy with that. I think that's a great brew. It is actually a clone recipe available on our shop, brewbrowshop.co.uk. So buy the kit, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and take care. That'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. I'm happy with that. It's really weird how some beers benefit from time in cans.
Well, should we have half that? Go for it. Come on, buddy, that's too short.
I definitely don't.
Yeah, but you have